Of course, what we want to reach is we want to focus on projects that matter to us, and things that matter to us in general. So what do we do? So we can use a Kindle Scribe, any tablet, any notes-taking app, but we need to create different pages for these different things. So one is really looking at our projects. So we have our 5 projects. Then we have 3 activities, Zen activities for work-life balance. We need a weekly planner. And then we need a monthly accountability chart. And then what we need, and that's kind of new, what I figured out last week, is for each project, and maybe that's something we can then expand on. But for each of these projects, you want a sheet that basically it's like a journaling sheet. So let's call it project journaling. Not only journaling, but also make folders in your file explorer. And if you're interested in going into more detail how I work with this, let me know in the comments. Interestingly, I started with the Para method a year ago. I can make another video how that went, and now I'm updating my folder structure to kind of adapt to this. But that's one of the key things, for each project. That's a new thing. I would definitely make a page and call it what the project is, and when you work on it, add in there how it went and what's the action plan for next time. Very important. This is very, very important. So once you gain momentum, you need to do this. It's going to be really nice, you will see. So how does this work? So we have 5 projects, so we list them, and then what you also need to do is we need to add an action item. So that's what I learned. Very important. When you list your 5 projects, how are you going to get started? What does that mean? It could be, opening a folder, opening a spreadsheet, or opening a Word file and adding a calendar item. You need to write down what's the first thing you're going to do to gain momentum, right? So that's the key. You want to gain momentum in that project. It's been maybe sitting for a long time. You need to do something. Here for the 3 Zen activities, again, we want to list them, and then I suggest to group them, because I have a lot of different activities, but they can be grouped. So for example, if you do doing some bicycle or mountain biking, and you do some running, and fitness or whatever, and you can group all of this into sports. So if you do playing an instrument, and then I do some live online DJing and all that. So this is all categorized into my music kind of or creativity life. And then another one, I guess, could be more like meditation, walking, so health. So you decide how you want to group that, but essentially make a list of the things that you really like to do, group them, and maybe if you have too many, you could also decide which one you want to focus on. Then the weekly planner, so that's where we actually put down our action plan. So here we basically add our project we focus on plus Zen. So that's our focus plan if you want. So we have the days of the week, and we write in there project 1. So the first week we start with listing all the 5 projects. If you check out my other video, that's to gain momentum and start to get them prepared. But then the following week you definitely want to focus on one project and write down action plan, which projects, then focus, and especially when, right? That's kind of new. Or make time. So you need to make time in your calendars for this. And my suggestion is something from 30 minutes to 2 hours. Well, maybe 2 hours is a bit ambitious, but if you can, 2 hours per day, definitely. So here we check what we did, and this is essential for analyzing and improving. Checking out how you're doing every day, what are you actually focusing on, do you manage it, and how do you improve it. So a recap, I would make a focus folder, focused project, or whatever you want to call it. And then you want a sheet with your 5 projects, make a list, add the action items to gain momentum. So what's the one thing you need to do to get it started? Then list your Zen activities, for work-life balance, list them, group them, and make sure, you list what you really like to do and to improve things in your life. And then you need a weekly planner, so you can, write down on your tablet. You can download the template, Monday through Sunday, and then write down which projects, which Zen activities you are going to do which day. You can also use your online electronic, Google Calendar, whatever. And then when. So make the time. You need to indicate when and how much. That's very important. And 2 hours a day might be a lot. Maybe start with 30 minutes a day, because it's hard to break bad habits. And then finally the monthly chart. That's really your accountability. So we want to check, if we did it or we did not do it, if we planned something, and analyze, at the end of the week, why and how to improve it. And then, so this is, week number 1. You start this, and let's see how it went. So in week number 1, what I did, so this is kind of in summary. So I managed to work on, only on one project 1, but I started to, because the goal was to work each day on one of the 5 projects to get them started and gain momentum. But what I did is I organized my files into folders, so into project folders, and I also created for each project a separate kind of sheet, so like a journal. And what do I put in there? And that's the key, is when you work on it, add the date, what you did, and then what's next. And I think this is essential, because then if you forgot what you did, after a while, at least you have a list, and then you can, check it. So I would keep everything in one of your notebooks. So again, I use the Kindle Scribe. It's pretty easy. But then write down what's next for the next day, so you already have the momentum. So that's cool. Then week number 2. Let's see how that went. Week number 2. So here I focused on, before I go there, so here it was projects 1 to 5, but it was more, awareness, I guess, awareness and momentum. But it's not realistic in week 1 to work on the 5 projects, right? That's long term. So that's basically getting organized. Now week number 2, what did I do? Here's really focus on one project, and definitely make time, morning or evening, depending if you're a morning person. I work better in the morning, so make time in the morning. And I would say for your Zen time, because that's a key. If you start to get more balanced, you have some successes maybe outside of work, and it's going to make you feel much better, less burned out, and you're going to follow up and working on your project. So focus on one project, make time in the morning, Zen time, and then progressively, if you don't have time during your work time, maybe for your project in the morning or evening. Else, during the day, definitely I would make some more time, maybe 1 to 2 hours per day. And again, if during the work time you cannot make time for this, it means something is wrong. So what was wrong with me, with my thing, is I was too reactive instead of proactive. So here you need to set boundaries, and that I'm talking about it in my new vlog. But you need to set boundaries for emails and for meetings. So there's a time for emails, there's a time for meetings, but there's also time for your focus. And if you don't put time on your focus, then you're going to be frustrated and not really advance in what really matters to you, and create big things. Alright, so this is the detailed chart, how to get momentum, get things started. I know it's a lot to take in. I'm going to try to create some new graphs, digital graphs, to simplify, to understand it. But you can watch the initial template video, and that's how I would get started. So yeah, I add it here. And what are you going to do? So next, so really write things down to know what are your focus projects, to know what you want to do during your Zen time. And the other action item will be to work on those emails and meetings. By the way, I just made a vlog, a walking vlog in the desert. I made 2 of them, and I will upload them soon. And in those videos, as actually in one of them, I will address the issue of emails. So I will post it here in the card once it's out. So watch out, this is going to be interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.